Hi, welcome to another edition of the Alan Rosenberg Show. And as I continue my ongoing series of Queen, is Queen the greatest rock band of all time? Brief thing, I have never been a huge fan of Queen. I only had the two greatest hits albums, and I can only take them in small doses. But I got tired of seeing these surveys and these ratings and these studies that everybody was saying Queen is the greatest band of all time, and they have the highest amount of streaming because they have like 6 huge songs. And to me, the greatest bands was always, the Stones and the Beatles and the Who and Zeppelin and the Kinks and U2 and Springsteen and Dylan. And the idea that Queen would ever be up there, I just couldn't get my head around. So instead of just saying that, I said, you know what? I'm going to get almost all the Queen albums. And I am not just going to listen to them once. I'm going to deep dive. I'm going to listen to them 5, 6, 7, 8 times. And I'm going to keep an open mind. And that's what I've done. So even if you don't like me, and I hope you do, but I hope you appreciate what I've done because, God damn it, this has killed me. This has been a really draining experience. This is going to be the last video because I'm up to their album from 1978, Jazz. Now, if you watch the last video playing back there, I did News of the World, which actually kind of enjoyed the album. I didn't think the songs were that great, but overall I thought it was a pretty decent listen. I cannot say that about this album. And it's kind of weird because 1978, so I was 15, and in my humble opinion, I think 1978 is, if not the greatest year, it's one of the greatest years in the history of rock and roll. And one day I'm going to do a video. Because if you think about the albums that came out that year, the Stones, Some Girls, Springsteen's, Darkness on the Edge of Town, Patti Smith Easter, the Kinks, Misfits, Neil Young, Comes a Time, Dire Straits, The Cars. It was an incredible year of music. And this is what Queen put out. It was a big hit. Hit number 2 in the UK, number 3 in the US, and had 2 pretty big songs that I hate. But let's ignore that for now and let's talk about it. It's kind of a 43-minute song album. It's not that long, but there's a lot of songs, 13 songs, but they're all relatively short. So let's go into it. They produced it with Roy Thomas Baker. This was the cover. I actually like this CD version because it's 3-dimensional again. It's got the embossed cover and on the back. And I kind of like the inner gatefold because you could see there's Queen. And that's what they're all about, man. What, they got like 3 or 4 huge drum sets and unbelievable tools. I've been saying the whole time, they are like the ultimate in studio wizardry. And they are alchemists in the studio with unbelievable overdubs and all of this. This was the poster that came out. I would have to say this is my favorite part of this album is whatever it is, 100 naked women riding bicycles. What can I tell you? Coming from Queen, no less, with Freddie Mercury. Go figure. But kind of cool. Anyway, let's talk about the album. It starts off with Mustafa. So, Mustafa sounds like a Middle Eastern chant. I think Freddie Mercury originally comes from like Zanzibar, if I'm doing that right. Wherever that is, maybe in Africa. So this is an interesting way to start an album. It's like a Middle Eastern chant. It sounds like something you might hear in a mosque or even a Hebrew temple. Almost like a Bollywood wedding kind of a thing. The band kicks in at one time. For me, I got to tell you something. I have over 5,000 albums, as you probably know. I have to tell you that I think this is the worst opening song that I have ever heard on any album in my life. I mean, I literally despise it. I've now heard this album 6 times and I can't do it. I can't hear the album again. But that's a deep dive anyway. But Mustafa is just unequivocally torture for me. All right, he wants to do something different. I get it. But I think it's awful. That goes into the second song, Brian May's Fat Bottom Girls. Now, Fat Bottom Girls, of course, is a legendary song. It's not a song that I ever liked. I kind of dislike it. Not because of what he's singing about. I don't care. He wants to sing about fat bottom girls. That's fine. I'm not insulted by that. The opening's interesting. It's got that opening a cappella harmony vocal, which is good. And then Brian May comes in with some really good guitar licks, and then there's some percussion, and it kind of just drags on with the guitar lick and the percussion, and it builds up, and then you get that huge, typical classic, big overblown Queen chorus, and just a ridiculous amount of overdubbing. Well, there it is, guys. You can see it. There's their tools of the trade. And at the end of the day, you could overdub all you want, but you can't polish something that's not that good to make it sound a classic song. It's just polishing it. I'll take a basic guitar, drums, bass, and singer doing with very little production and a great song. And this is the opposite. This is a song that just doesn't move me. It doesn't go anywhere. It just goes, it's just, ugh. Fat bottom girls, you make my rockin' world go round. No, that doesn't make my rockin' world go round. Let's go to the third song, Jealousy, another Freddie Mercury song. And I've heard this so many times, but that's okay. You know, other bands repeat themselves. It's a piano ballad. It's got a nice, comfortable chorus, and the whole song is kind of pining about jealousy, and that's okay. It's a good topic. It's kind of a harmless ballad. It's not a bad song, but in no way is it a particularly good song. It just kind of is flat. There's no peaks. It just kind of stays level. And it just kind of piddles away at the end. So it's not a bad song, but not a particularly good song. That goes into Bicycle Race. Now, if you check out my videos, about a year ago, I did a video that I think is one of my funniest videos. It was over a year ago, I did songs that annoyed the shit out of me. And guess what had made the grade? That was Bicycle Race from Queen, written by Freddie Mercury. I can't stomach this song. Would have been my most hated Queen song before I listened to all these albums. Maybe Mustafa would be that now, but bicycle, I want you at my bicycle, I want. Jesus Christ, put a bullet in my head, smack me until I'm unconscious, because I would rather that happen than have to sit through this song that I just sat through 6 times listening to this album. Yeah, it's complicated, it's progressive, it's a billion layers, they're throwing everything against the kitchen sink, it's totally Queen, bombastic, and it sucks ass as far as I'm concerned. I can't stand it. Sorry. I guess there's a lot of people who like it. It's just torture for me. But I like the poster, guys. I like the poster. Bicycle Race. That goes into John Deacon's If You Can't Beat Them. It's a generic pop rocker. It's not a bad song. It's just really generic. It has no peaks, no valleys. It's another flat, basic song. It reminds me of Bad Sticks. You know, remember, what was that Sticks album with Mr. Roboto? If you can't beat him, join him. Throw that bland shit on that. It'll fit perfectly. It made me realize there was a band in the late 70s called Stars. They were a pretty good band on Capitol, and they never made it really big. If you can't beat them, it wouldn't even cut it on a Stars album. There you go. All that phasing and all that guitar overdubs doesn't help the song. That goes into Let Me Entertain You. Please, Freddie, entertain me. Another Queen complicated song. Lots of time changes, overdubs, and all of that. And it just goes into this horrendous kind of Queen chorus that I will despise. Let me entertain you. You're not entertaining me. It sounds like bad fucking Broadway show. It's just, if you keep, I feel like Queen does this. They load everything on there to try to hide the fact that the song absolutely is lame underneath it. But if we throw enough on there, let me entertain, you're going to be excited about it. I don't know. Not me. You could load as much as you want on that song. It doesn't hide the fact that, to me, it's really another annoying, lousy song, and I'd rather hear the Ramones play 3 chords with a melody. Alright, so that's side 1. Not enjoying this album. Let's go to side 2, Dead on Time, another Brian May song. It opens up with some really serious guitar riffing, which I kind of enjoyed. I'm like, thank God, this is pretty good. Until the song really kicks in and it goes into another horrendous, annoying chorus, dead on time, dead on time, dead on time, with tons of overdubs and massive amount of guitar work. and it just becomes a cacophony of annoying sounds and noise, and it just becomes a mess. And what had a potential with a really good guitar riff just becomes a mess. And then they ended with a thunderstorm, which to me was a good move because let the rain just wash this puddle of shit away. Next, in only 7 days, I'm looking at the poster because I enjoy that. John Deacon track, In Only 7 Days, another kind of melodic ballad. It's got a decent vocal. I think it's Freddie Mercury singing that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the vocal's decent. It's got a good range. And it's another mid-paced, soft rocker that has no major hook, doesn't really go anywhere. I call it flat. Just kind of stays there. It's not terrible, but it's certainly not that good. Dreamer's Ball comes next. Another Brian May song, and there's maybe that. Why do they call this album jazz? I don't know. Somebody explained it to me. Maybe because of Dreamer's Ball, because that's kind of like a jazzy kind of a song. What's interesting, and I guess people are impressed, it sounds like there's a brass section, and I'm listening, and I'm like, well, I'm sure that's not brass. That's just got to be Brian May with a million guitar overdubs to make it sound like a brass section. Okay, that's cool. You're talented. The song sucks again. What am I listening to? What am I watching? An old Little Rascals? I'm waiting to see Darla go up on a little Rascal stage and do Dreamer's Ball. Oh, God, just kill me. Next, Fun It, Roger Taylor. Roger Taylor is a guy in Queen that I sort of been enjoying this whole time. Not because he particularly writes any great songs, but at least they're kind of straight-ahead, ballsy rock songs. Well, not in this case. Fun It starts off with a real disco beat with those electronic syndromes. Another horrible chorus. It just becomes another annoyance. The chorus is something like, hey, everybody have a good time. Everybody have a good time. I'm not having a good time. Is anybody having a good time listening to this album? Fun It, Roger Taylor. Can it, because it's horrible. Next, Leaving Here Ain't Easy, another Brian May track. Another mid-tempo, kind of a soft rock song. Reminds me of really bad Eagles. Or worse, really bad Poco. Or worse, really bad America. It's just boring. It's just, there's nothing to it. This stuff is like demos except a million overdubs. Leaving Here Ain't Easy. Never listening to this album again is going to be easy. That goes to Don't Stop Me Now, one of the most famous Queen songs in the world. It's a legendary song. One of my favorite movies of all time was Shaun of the Dead. They used that song in the middle of it. It worked. Because that's the kind of song it is. It's just this over-the-top, campy, flamboyant Queen track that I do not like. Didn't like it on the greatest hits when I had that, and I don't like it anymore. And Don't Stop Me Now, having a good time. It's so campy. It just goes on and on. To me, it should be in a campy Broadway show with Peter Pan flying overhead. Don't stop me now. Oh, please stop me. Please stop me. Last but not least is Roger Taylor's second opus on this album, More of That Jazz. So it starts with a kind of a good drum beat. Sounds like real drums for a change. You got a good messy guitar riff. And then it goes into what kind of sounds like Led Zeppelin. Circa 1976 Presence. Except really bad Led Zeppelin. It's just a mess. It sounds like a Presence outtake. And Presence is my least favorite Led Zeppelin album, so I don't mean that as a compliment. It's just poor man's shitty Led Zeppelin. And then it does the cardinal sin in my life. It's almost like we know this album is shit, and we know the ending of this album is shit. So we're going to take some 5 seconds or a couple of seconds edits of the best bits of the best songs, the best bits of this album. And we're going to throw it together towards the end of that song. So all of a sudden, instead of More of That Jazz, you hear, Bicycle and little bits and pieces, Fat Bottom Girls. Is that tacky? I can't think of another album that I've ever heard that did that. It's like admitting, it's like, here's what you missed. In all of that cacophony of shit, there's a couple of seconds of stuff that'll stick with you. And then the album ends. Yeah, this is by far the worst Queen album I've ever heard. In fact, this is probably the worst album I've ever heard. And if I didn't invest all this money and time in Queen, this thing would be burned. But it doesn't earn the real estate on my shelves downstairs, but it will because I'm going to keep these other ones. So there you have it, folks. My review of Queen Jazz from 1978. So let's wrap this up. Is Queen the greatest rock and roll band in the world? I'm insulted then, and I gave it a fair listen. I'm insulted that anybody would even put Queen anywhere near the same level as the Rolling Stones and the Beatles and Queen and Led Zeppelin and the Who and the Kinks and Bruce Springsteen and Bob Dylan. Are you kidding me? For me, my personal taste, the best of these albums, I would have given 3.5 stars, which would be somewhere between good and excellent. Now, I understand some of my viewers said, well, I got these albums when I was 13 and they really imprinted on me. And I totally get that. There are bands that I love. Wishbone Ash is an example where I got into them young and they're in my DNA and I think they're amazing. And if you maybe listen to Argus or New England by Wishbone Ash, maybe you would think, well, it's good, but it's not great. I think it's a 5-star classic, but maybe you wouldn't. But it's imprinted on me. So I get it if you think these albums are 5-star albums because you were 13 and you loved it. But as an outsider who's really kept an open mind, who has really spent an incredible time on these albums, there's nothing here that, for me, that even approaches 5-star classic album. And that's my problem with reviewers in general. They're so lackadaisical with these reviews. 5 stars should go to very few things. We're talking Dark Side of the Moon. We're talking like that level. And, putting these up there is just like insanity. But anyway, there's my humble opinion. Is Queen anywhere near the top greatest band of all time? For me, with all of these that I've listened to, they wouldn't even register. I mean, somebody might say, well, they play all kinds of different music and they're totally unique, and they do. And they are totally unique. Nobody sounds like Queen. And that's fine, but they're not there's a million great bands that are totally unique. There's a million good bands. The Cars. Nobody sounds like the Cars. Nobody sounds like Dire Straits. Nobody sounds like Jethro Tull. And Jethro Tull's a good analogy because Jethro Tull plays in so many different styles of music. And you could listen to one Jethro Tull album compared to another one, and you may not even think it's the same band except for Ian Anderson's vocals. And that's greatness. But that doesn't make them a great band. But they are a great band. Jethro Tull, to me, would be up here, and Queen would be somewhere way the hell down here. Don't get me started. So yeah, Queen for me wouldn't even be on a register of near the greatest bands of all time. For me, they wouldn't even be there. But anyway, I hope you respect me for doing this. It's killed me, but I'm done. Can't do this anymore. I think it's about time we have some fun again and go back to some of my other video kind of stuff that I was doing. So thank you for watching. Let me know your opinions. Most importantly, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for appreciating what I'm doing because it's real and it's honest, and I don't think too many people are out there doing what I'm doing. So thanks so much. Have a great, great night, and I need a drink and go to bed. Take care.